Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the newspapers, and we'll be getting into that shortly. But helping us bring you the segment, we have Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. They're here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi, Kronoma, Buehian behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Energy State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiamanzama. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, our apologies. We faced some technical difficulties and we're starting a tad late, but we'll make the most of the about 26 minutes we have left. But my guest this morning, as we do every Tuesday, financial analyst, Dr. Wisdom Akufo-Addo. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. Thanks for having me again.
It's good to have you. And it's interesting. This was Sunday morning. I was going to church. I attended church twice Sunday because of some peculiar situation. But in the morning, I was going to church, and then a gentleman, so at a T junction, I had to stop because vehicles were passing. Then a gentleman stops me. I had rolled down the window because I wanted some fresh air before turning on my AC. And he came to me, Benjamin Akako, and I was like, oh, yes, I've forgotten his name. I think it was an M name. And then he said, oh, yes. And I watch you a lot, especially together with that doctor who comes on Tuesday. And I said, Wisdom? And he said, yes. I don't know. I think he may be an old Mawulian or something. But he was so excited and all that. So unfortunately, I've forgotten his name, but I remembered when I saw you. So that's your message. He's enthralled by your delivery on Tuesday mornings. Welcome.
Thank you. And the part that I like the most is that he said I'm an old Maulian. Not old Behekan.
So I was referencing him, actually. I think he is an old Maulian, but he was very excited about seeing you. I know we usually do this before we get into the papers. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes max because we're pressed for time, to share your thoughts on any crucial matter that you'd like to talk about this morning.
Sure. Ben, I was thinking about the impasse between Parliament and the executive branch regarding the anti-LGBT plus bill.
Right.
And I think that for traditional family values, for us as Ghanaians, these values have to be protected, right, from any form of moral corruption and from any form of indoctrination which do not necessarily align with the Ghanaian way of life. That is very clear in my mind. On the other hand, though, I'm not 100% convinced that criminalizing LGBT plus Q plus practices is the only approach to safeguarding our culture or family values to protect our children.
Right.
That is just my general thoughts on the bill. Now, with regards to the president or attorney general asking Parliament not to transmit the bill to the office of the president for the president to assent or otherwise.
Well, it was actually the executive secretary of the president, Nana Asante-Bediatu, who suggested in that letter. The AG also shared his thoughts. I don't know whether technically he was saying it shouldn't be transmitted to the president, but I know the president's secretary, Nana Asante-Bediatu, suggested that in the letter to the clerk of parliament.
Right. And that's the part I don't understand, right? And also, if you think about the Speaker of Parliament also responding in kind, refusing to proceed with vetting the president's ministerial appointments, I think this is an area that the legal luminaries can better educate us on. But here's what I know, Ben. So if memory serves me well, I believe that the process of passing a law involves several stages, right?
It does.
The proposal and the drafting stage, then the first reading when the bill is introduced in Parliament, then there's the second reading when members of Parliament have the opportunity, to debate the general principles and objectives of the bill.
Right.
Then there is the committee stage and considerations, right? And then maybe a third reading, I believe. When a vote is taken, Ben, and if the bill receives majority of votes, it proceeds to the stage of presidential assent.
Right.
I say all of this to level set that the president has power to either assent to the bill, making it a law, or withhold his assent, right, and refer it back to Parliament for reconsideration. I have not heard of this current situation where the president's office is able to tell Parliament not to transmit the bill for assent. It sounds to me like a break in the lawmaking process. And I believe that the president has power and a voice in this matter, and he should use it appropriately. His power here is either to assent to the bill or decline to assent and send it back to Parliament. Or maybe he could have allowed the process to play out and then wait until the current legal challenges to the bill are all sorted out. I'm just thinking aloud, Ben. But with him or whoever sent that letter from his outfit, proactively asking Parliament not to carry out their legislative mandate, I think it might amount to maybe some constitutional crisis. And I'll be looking forward to learning more about how this gets resolved. Either way, I believe both the president's office and Parliament, they must make good faith effort, right, to follow the laid down process of lawmaking and have an open and transparent dialogue, which is, I believe, is the best approach to resolve this impasse.
Interesting dynamics in there, but we'll leave the two organizations or arms of government, the judiciary, to come through, and now the legislature is also saying, okay, so if you say that you want to wait till when on the 4th, the matter, 4th of March, the matter hadn't even been to court, and on the 5th it was, but on the 4th you addressed the diplomatic community and said, this was a matter before court. In that case, then we'll also wait till they are done before we take a look at it's not the best situation for right. Governance, right? But I feel too that it may be the best situation to ensure that parity remains, because these are co-equal arms of government. They are not, there is no subservient, or subsidiary arm. And I think whatever wrangling there may be, in the end, will be all the better for it. Our democracy will be all the better for it. But let me quickly get into the papers now. There's the Daily Graphic. ICT and SHS's deepens, and I'll have a lot to say about this. President launches Smart Schools project, 1.3 million tablets to schools, 100 smart schools to be built. And then Finance Minister charges GRA Customs to reduce leakages. Recently, infamously, we heard the Vice President talk about the fact that the GRA was, overdoing it with taxing people and hounding businesses and all of that. And I've spotted a statement from the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana saying, these are all shenanigans and they will not fall for it. Because, it's the same administration that has been egging on the GRA to do X, Y, Z. So if you're now coming to say, they are overdoing it, as vice president, who wants to become president, then I'm asking myself, why does this smell as though there were a rat somewhere? Bank of Ghana has strong buffers to support cedi. That's according to the governor. But we know that our currency is the third worst in Africa currently. And that look at the dollar to cedi ratio. And it's one of the conversations we're having today. You look at the fact that the dollar is about 13.74 cedis, okay? It's inching towards 14. Let's not even talk about the euro or the British pound. Those are issues. And this is around this period, you would have a lot coming in, businesses and all of that. How government is going to foot that bill, especially when our reserves for purchase, I've forgotten the technical term, is just 2 months now and whittling down. And then 2 drowned in Tubong Dam. On the back page, Ghana Navy ships successfully sail across equator and 24 districts get mechanized boreholes. So let me get right down to it. President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo yesterday launched the Ghana Smart Schools project, which includes the distribution of 1.3 million educational tablets to senior high school students. The project, which seeks to deepen the application of information technology in teaching and learning at the second cycle level, also involves the construction of 100 smart schools across the country, 30 of which will be completed by the end of this year. Each tablet is fitted with digital content to aid research, teaching, and learning. At the tertiary level, the government plans to provide at a discounted price tablets and laptops to students and lecturers to facilitate academic work. Now, at the project launch, President Akufo-Addo said, although largely successful, the government continued to seek innovative ways of improving further on the free SHS policy. And these smart school buildings, in terms of features, he said, would be fitted with solar panels as we, the government, seek to promote new and environmentally sustainable energy, meaning that the schools would be off the national electricity grid. Quick reactions on this before I come up with follow-ups.
Yeah, man, I heard the news about building smart schools and also providing this 1.3 million tablets to pre-tertiary students. I think that providing tablets to pre-tertiary students in the country, this can be a good initiative, but we also need to think about timing and impact here, right? And we should ask the question, if this is the most pressing need in the educational sector as of now, I would understand, right? I would understand it if it's the most pressing need. We have accommodation issues in the sector and poor meals and so on.
Feeding.
So
Feeding.
I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure how this provision of tablets got prioritized, over accommodation and decent meals for our students. Look, I tell you, I think it can be a good initiative because of its tendency to provide access to more educational resources. The fact is that these tablets can provide students with access to a wide range of educational materials, including electronic textbooks, learning apps that are interactive and online courses. And so this could enhance their learning experience and give them more resources which may not be available to them otherwise. And with a push to continue digitizing all sectors of the country, right, I believe that this can help students also, develop the necessary digital literacy skills. And then they can learn how to navigate digital platforms and access information online and also use various productivity tools. But Ben, if this is rolled out properly, I also think that it could also lead to cost savings or some kind of efficiency in the long term. I say that because in the long run, textbooks can become downloadable, right? You can download them and there'll be no need to print. So you eliminate the printing cost and reduce the need for physical or hard copies. I also said that the impact, right, and the timing may not necessarily be right because sometimes these tablets need internet connectivity for the full benefit of the tablet to be realized. And with limited internet connectivity in most areas of the country, online resources and collaborative learning platforms may not be accessible. So you could have tablets and it could be of limited use in the hands of the student when it comes to learning opportunities. And then this can be trivia here, but it's worth noting that we need the necessary infrastructure in place first. And what I mean is that these tablets, they need adequate charging stations in the classrooms, a reliable supply of power to the schools, to have devices on and so the students can consistently use these tablets as needed. But we have doomsday, right? It's all of going on today.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful with that term. We have what? What did you say?
We have doomsday. Look, you can call it any name, whatever you want.
The energy minister yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, there was talk about a doomsday schedule timetable. I mean, look, I interact with some members of the MPP behind the scenes, right? And they tell you, Charlie, we simply can't accept the use of that term because if we do, then we concede that we've also got into doomsday. So it is just a matter of let's never use it. Let's never have a timetable because if we do, then we concede that. I can't understand for the life of me, but that also tells you that these are people who will never accept failure. They don't want to accept that we have failed. Part of positive, crucial leadership is to admit when you failed and to say, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And that's what is lacking today, right? No indictment on anybody here, but if you are a leader and you're given an important role to play and you don't deliver, the right thing to do is to say, yes, I gave it my best. I failed at it. Take accountability for it. And we don't see that today. But look, the last point I'd like to make on this tablets here is, I think that care has to be taken to ensure equity for all students across the nation with this initiative.
Right.
If students in the cities have better connectivity in their schools or science labs, where these tablets can be more beneficial, this by itself will create some form of inequalities if some students do not have access to the same resources in the less developed areas of the country.
Right. It also begs some questions. You've already spoken about feeding. Some would say, oh, I heard someone almost act as though these tablets were indestructible. Don't get it twisted. Good thing, right? But you look at, here, so at this point that you're giving them tablets, most of these students in school, recently we had empty plates, the free SHS promise. Would they prefer food, proper food, or a tablet? You look at it. And some have said that, oh, these tablets, even if they fall or they were to fall, they wouldn't, almost as though they were indestructible. I don't know whether they are made of steel or, because usually these products are aluminum and all of that. It's all good. They are solar, they can charge. But the point is, you look at that, you consider the fact that the teachers, part of why they're striking, over 100,000 per the Ghana National Association of Teachers, have not got the laptops promised them. And these people are paid 30% of the cost. So you are not giving them their money, you are not giving them their laptops. In fact, as far as this tablet thing is concerned, you go back in time, and this promise was made even before 2016, and in the 2016 manifesto of the NPP. So there was talk about giving every student in Ghana a tablet, right? Why now? 7 years, almost 8 years. Is it the political gimmick? It's approaching elections. I must do something now. And even if you look at the numbers, that were presented to Parliament at the SHS level, 1.3 million plus, when in fact, and the junior high school, 1.4 million, that gives you 2.7 million. Now, if you look at the tablets they are giving out, it means this is just a fraction of it, about a quarter of students. So where is the reality? Is it just cosmetic? We've done it. Mind you, like I said, not a bad thing. But when the devil is always in the detail. And that's where they often don't think we'll be looking, but that's where we look.
Ben, we've watched this movie before, right? Election year, and everything is possible. They will promise you heaven and earth, right? But one thing I can tell you is this. The average Ghanaian is becoming more discerning and can see through some of this. It beats my mind that the teacher has no laptop to do his or her research to come and teach, but the student will be given a laptop to sit in front of the teacher who is waiting for a laptop to be able to do a research. I don't see how that makes much sense, in my opinion, to be honest.
Let's hop on to other stories very quickly, and we'll take it from there. I'll go to page 13 and page 19 as well. So the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has charged the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to put in more effort to reduce revenue leakages at the entry points. He stated that notwithstanding the successes chalked by the Customs Division, with the Tema collection alone mobilizing 95.03% of its targeted revenue for last year, there was more the GRA and its Customs Division in particular could do to further enhance the level of efficiency at the ports. We know that collections have dropped year on year, and so he was referencing that as well. The Bank of Ghana has strong buffers to support Cedi. That's according to the governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, who has given an assurance that the central bank has strong buffers to support the Cedi in spite of the local currency depreciating by 6.8% in the first quarter alone of the year. He said with the gross international reserves increasing to $6.2 billion at the end of February this year, the Bank of Ghana had enough buffers to support the recovery of the local currency. But if you face the facts as well, you'd realize that with the erosion of our currency, this also means that that buffer is not exactly as strong as we would want it to be, even in terms of import cover. Then I'll quickly do the story and come through for your reactions. Then I guess maybe we could leave it at that with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Don't grant licenses for mining close to Ayensu River. And the NDC parliamentary candidate for Efutu in the Central Region, James Kofi Annan, has petitioned the Minerals Commission not to grant licenses for the mining of lithium and gold close to the Ayensu River. He said any attempt to undertake any mining activities anywhere close to the river could result in the total drying up of the river and result in life-threatening situations for surrounding communities. The reason I would go to that of course, you know, I'm passionate about this thing called Galamsey. Just a few days ago, last weekend, I showed you those pictures from the Western region where a major highway to the left and to the right have been dug. In fact, the structural integrity of that road is in question. So anything Galamsey, I'm passionate about. Any quick thoughts, and then we're gone?
So, but on this story about the finance minister charging customs at GRA to close any revenue leaks, let me start on a lighter note that I hope His Excellency, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, will not turn around and ask GRA not to harass businesses who are taking advantage of these leaks. But on a more serious note, right, I believe that as part of the revenue mobilization efforts, such leaks should be identified and closed so all businesses can pay their fair share of taxes. This, in my opinion, is a better approach to meeting revenue targets than introducing new taxes on the citizens. That said, as I was saying earlier, I heard about a story, and you talked about that also right now, about comments that the Vice President made about GRA harassing taxpayers in their bid to meet or exceed revenue collection targets. If the Vice President indeed made these comments, right, I would say his comments are very confusing, to say the least. It seems that we hear conflicting or contradictory messaging, coming out from this administration. Look, Dr. Bawumia cannot eat his cake and have it back. It's just that's not how it works. You can either be for something, but you cannot effectively be for everything at the same time. You cannot be for something when it helps your cause and be against that same thing when it becomes potentially inconveniencing to your electoral fortunes. Someone once said that when you stand for something, you have to stand for that thing all the way and not just halfway.
Right.
Why am I saying this, right? It is this same administration that is pushing GRA to reduce leaks and meet or exceed revenue targets that are set for them by the government. If you recall, a few weeks ago, the new finance minister, on another occasion, he visited GRA and urged them to push to exceed their revenue targets. And on this show, I cautioned that we need to proceed cautiously on this so as to not to overburden the taxpayer. So in one vein, the finance minister is pushing for GRA to step up their revenue mobilization effort. And it seems that the vice president, who belongs to the same cabinet as the finance minister, in another vein, the VP might be calling this push as a harassment of the taxpayer. So
Right.
which is which? Politics can sometimes be quite unpleasant game, especially in an election year. I think Dr. Bawumia, together with this administration, they introduced various taxes that caused some companies to relocate their production groups to foreign countries because
Right.
the cost of doing business in our country has become infeasible from a business perspective,
Right.
further worsening the unemployment situation. And it seems to me that he also wants to abolish e-levy, introduce tax
That's what he
amnesty.
said.
I just want to make sure that, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying we have limited time, but I was just saying that's what he has said, not that.
Right.
I mean.
It would be better, right? I think it would be better if we can hear from those who want to lead the country with some kind of consistency. What do they believe in? 7 years you are for one thing, and 1 year you're for the complete opposite of that. To me, I struggle to appreciate or understand where he's coming from.
Right. I have this message come through from Ifo Kwame Juwonu, who says, "Good morning, Ben. Teachers paid the full cost of the laptop and not 30%. About 550 Ghana cedis was deducted or were deducted from our salaries, and 1,025 Ghana cedis deducted from our SNIT contributions. Even with that, he says we are yet to receive the toys. He calls them toys. I don't know whether they are toys, but that's what he says. So in essence, I know of the 30%. You are telling me that you paid the full complement and you've not got the laptops. There's also this one, I'm just touching and going on this, no need for expansion. If you've not read the story yet, right? Senegal's opposition leader, Faye, I'm talking about Bassirou Diomaye Faye, is set to be declared the country's next president. And guess what? He's only 44 years old, and he's come through with some radical thoughts. If you've not read that, read it on myjoyonline.com. We have those stories there. The new finder, Tor awaits transformation under new leadership. I don't even want to start talking about Tor this morning. I don't want to go there. NPA commends Petrosol for investing in women empowerment, and government to buy 1.3 million tablets for pre-tertiary students. All right. Nana gives one student one laptop. I mean, we've spoken about it, so I'm just reading the headlines. And then there's also move to freeze Dapa's maids' properties withdrawn. That's the Daily Guide newspaper. And to cap it off, again, government rolls out smart schools project. Every newspaper is talking about it. Will support you to meet revenue targets. Finance Minister designate to GRA Customs Division staff. Medina MP Francis Xavier Sosu pushes for 5% job quota for people with disability. This is the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And then there's no doomsday in Ghana. Energy Minister affirms promises to fix current power supply disruptions. All right. Ejanapo, we hear you. Yate. There's no doomsday. Please, those of you watching, know that there's no doomsday. So please, technically, when you report issues, don't mention doomsday. I beg of you. Just say your powerhouse has been out for a while. No matter what, don't use the word doomsday. The energy minister doesn't like hearing it. So, yeah, that is that. Frank Apia says, even primary schools don't have textbooks, classrooms and textbooks, and yet you are saying tablets for SHS students. Hey, Ghana. That one I don't know. I'm also looking at the latest happiness index. Ghana placed 120th. And you would say not bad, but then you consider that it's 140 countries. So are you not happy? Over to you, Doc.
Well, let me touch quickly on, I know we had press for time, so let me touch quickly on the
Our time is up, story. So do 1 minute and then we can go on.
Yeah, I promise. I think it's not too late to say congratulations to the president-elect, Bassirou Faye. A part of his success in this election reminds me of President Nelson Mandela. A songwriter once sang that song that President Mandela was in prison for 20 plus years, and he came from the prison and took the seat of the president. Mr. Faye did not spend that much time in prison, but yes, he was in prison, came out 10 days.
He was in prison together with another member of is it PATEF or so? The other one hasn't come out yet, but he has come out. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's very inspirational, to say the least. That is, I think it's very exciting if you think about how this young man is rising up, and he's actually up to the pinnacle of leadership in the sub-region through the democratic way, not through coup. So congratulations to him.
Interesting thing, he's 44, and that gives me a lot of hope and excitement. He's a taxman, by the way, and it reminds me of Barack Obama as well. Anyway, thank you so much, Doc. We had limited time today, but you've made it, as always, very animated and spot on with your analysis. We're grateful for your time. That is Dr. Wisdom Dogbey, a financial analyst who joined the conversation this morning. And to those of you who watched and sent in your messages via the live stream, thank you as well. Well, this is how we cap off the news review. Just to acknowledge our sponsors for this segment, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you, as always, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Reach out to them at any of their branches. Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomu Abwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, bringing us to the cusp, the very cusp of sports, which is up next.